একটা ব্যাপার থাকে তখন আবার।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলা আছে, পারমিশন বলা আছে, রেকর্ডিং করে দিলাম, চাপিয়ে দিলাম হোক।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে।
পরে সামনে যখন ইউটিউবে যখন ইয়ে হবে তখন আমরা এটা দেবো ইয়েতে সামনের।
Hi, but I changed my location. It should be better. Let's check it out. Hear me now.
Yes, madam, it is better.
Awesome, awesome. Hi, everyone. Good evening in India. Good morning in the US and other locations. How is everyone? Do you want to send some reactions? How do you feel today? I am very happy.
It's good, madam.
It's very good. Oh.
Okay, madam, should we start?
Thank you. See a lot of people feeling very good, and it's going to be an amazing conversation. So thank you so much, Batin and the university for organizing this. This is going to be an incredible event.
Thank you, madam. So, madam, with your kind permission, should we start the session?
Let's start.
So, first of all, good evening to all and one, and of course, good morning, madam. First of all, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kanyashree University, as well as Registrar of this university, for giving us the opportunity to organize this event, this international conference. And on behalf of the conference committee, once again, I heartily welcome you all to this event, to this conference entitled Exploring Pluralism, Sustainability and Inclusion, Interdisciplinary Perspectives, organized by Kanyashree University in collaboration with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, Betai, Nadia, Ashannagar Madan Mohan Tarkalankar College, Nadia, Polashi College, Chakda College, Navadvip Vidyasagar College. So this is going to be the second plenary session. As you know, due to some technical issues, we are not in the position to conduct that session on that day of the conference. Hence, we have decided to conduct the session today. And in this particular session, plenary session 2, we have with us Dr. Francisco Ferrando, an important philosopher of our time. Now I'd like to hand over this virtual space to Dr. Dipanjan Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Navadvip Vidyasagar College, as well as visiting faculty, Department of English, Kanyashree University, to introduce our guest, Dr. Francisco Ferrando. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bapin. Welcome, madam. Actually, I am here to introduce our renowned speaker here, Dr. Ferrando. She teaches philosophy at New York University, US, NYU-Program of Liberal Studies, as an adjunct assistant professor. Dr. Ferrando holds a Ph.D. in philosophy, University of Roma, Italy, to which the European Doctoral Fellowship was granted. They received an MA in Gender Studies, Utrecht University, Holland. Director of the program, Professor Rosi Braidotti. Dr. Ferrando was a visiting scholar at Columbia University, US, twice, and an independent researcher at the University of Reading, England, working on cyborg theory with Professor Warwick. Recipient of the Philosophical Prize Premio Sainati, with the acknowledgement of the President of the Italian Republic. Dr. Ferrando is the author of several publications, including Philosophical Posthumanism, Bloomsbury. Their upcoming book is The Art of Being Posthuman from Polity. Their work has been translated into a dozen languages, including in alphabetic order, Arabic, Chinese, that is Mandarin, German, Hungarian, Korean, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Russian, Turkish, Spanish, and Urdu. Dr. Ferrando is the founder of the global Posthuman network. In the history of TED Talks, they were the first speaker to give a talk on the subject of the posthuman. Dr. Ferrando has delivered more than 100 keynotes and lectures in international institutions such as Harvard University, Princeton University, and the Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators. So welcome, madam. Now, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Dear Bapin, dear Dipanjan, dear University, India, dear Kanyashree, colleagues and students and faculty, I'm deeply honored to be together, to reflect together about pluralism. I really believe that this manifestation, this existence, is unfolding because of unity and diversity, and this is the spark of existence. So I am extremely excited and inspired to be together today. I feel moments are moments unfolding existential creativity. And I would like to thank so much your flexibility. I know that last week was our original date, and I know there were some issues with connection in India, so we decided to postpone our meeting. And it worked out. We had the chance also to share some material with everyone that is going to be there for you even after this talk for some time. And I also want to say that I was in India this March for a conference, and it is an amazing country, amazing country. So even if I'm not there in person today, I am there in spirit, and we are together in this incredible day and evening for you. And thank you so much. Looking forward to the dialogue. We're going to have this event divided in 3 sections. The first section, I'm going to give a little bit of an overall on my last book, which is this one, The Art of Being Posthuman. Then we're going to go into some beautiful questions that Bapin has placed out there for all of us to reflect upon. We're going to give some inspiring reflections on those, and then we're going to open the floor to any questions. Now, feel free to write your insights, your questions at any time in the chat, and maybe Bapin and other faculty members monitor those. And then for the Q&A, it would be easy to address them, make sure that everyone's voice is heard. So I want to thank again everyone. And I want also to thank you for giving me your emotions at the beginning of this meeting, when I saw that there was love and happiness to be here together. So this space is for us. It is not a frontal lecture. I'm going to give some insights, but it is a moment of connection and reflection together. So let me, Bapin, know when I should start. I have a little presentation, not too long, on the slides, and we're going to go into the questions. So Bapin, let me know if I should go into the slides, or maybe if there are maybe some other faculty member who would like to say something. Let me know. I'm here.
Okay, madam, please start your presentation. Okay.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to do a little presentation. Going to monitor time. Yeah, I'll try to keep it to 15 to 20 minutes, not more than that. I want to make sure that we have time for the collective reflection, which is, I think, the most important part of this talk. So let me see. I am confident that everyone is seeing the slides. Can you just tell me that is good? Perfect.
Yes,
I see
yes,
them.
madam, it is good.
Perfect. Perfect.
Madam.
All right. So this is my latest book, Art of Being Posthuman. It came out in February 2024 by Polity Press, a university press based in the UK, in Cambridge. And this book comes after Philosophical Posthumanism, which was published by Bloomsbury in 2019. And there are 2 different books. I'm going to give a little more of an overall understanding later, but Philosophical Posthumanism is a book that is directed to the university, to the academic community. And the idea behind this book was, the intention was clarity. At the time, there was a lot of confusion between a lot of different type of movements. And my goal was being able to have an open conversation without someone using a term, but really meaning something else. So for instance, if you've been in this posthuman study for a while, you know that there are different flavors, like posthumanism, transhumanism, anti-humanism, meta-humanism. There are a lot of different currents. And so this book is very good for the people who are in the academic debate to bring some clarity. It's very clear, it's all divided through questions and through small chapters, and it is a gift to the academic community. This book was not so much thought to be outside of academia, although it did, some people outside of academia have been reading it, but it's mostly a book that is thought for the academic community. And then, as we all know, in 2019, 2020, something happened to all of us, which was the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. It deeply changed the way I thought of academia. It deeply changed the way I embrace philosophy. Philosophy for me has never been just something I teach. It's always been the love of wisdom. This is the term that comes from ancient Greek, but you can find this approach through all the traditions. India, the rishis, in China, Taoism, and so many traditions are embracing the field of philosophy, not as just something that's taught, but as something that changes our life, something that changes our life. Now, after the pandemic, or actually throughout the pandemic, I realized that life comes and goes. A lot of people were dying. We remember, I think, all of us very well, all the images, of the bodies and people that we love, maybe getting sick, ourselves maybe getting into situations where we were at risk of living or dying. So it was a very intense existential moment for, I think, everyone. And in that moment, I questioned myself. I placed myself in front of the existential mirror, and I asked, does posthumanism help me? Is posthumanism something that is helping me navigating this historical moment? And so if the answer was not, I would not be here today. But the answer was yes. It helped me understand, first of all, that the pandemic was part of our behaviors. It was not separate. It was, I think, when humans didn't understand the limits, understanding that there are other species that need spaces, understanding that we are one and many, and that the virus didn't see someone as Indian or Italian or Nigerian. We are one species, and we are many. So out of all of these deep existential moments comes this book, that is about existential posthumanism. So let's go on. Actually, my first book was translated in many languages, including Spanish, Korean, Russian. And at the moment, The Art of Being Posthuman is coming out in the second edition, and is also being translated into Arabic, Korean, and other languages. Now, the book is conceived for a different audience. As I mentioned, the other one was conceived for an academic community. This book is conceived for everyone who loves books, everyone who found in books friends, and that's my case. In my life, I found a lot of answers in books. In different stages of my life, I needed different inputs and answers and insights, and books were there for me, and books brought me those energies that I needed. So I am very grateful to books. Growing up, I didn't know how much time you need to spend in order to conceive a book, to write a book. It is a very embodied experience. It's very long and intense. But this is a gift for one who loves books and who have found meanings in books. And so it is also conceived for a species that maybe doesn't have so much time to read a whole book. So there are 8 meditations. 8 represents the infinite. If you switch it and you go into the horizontal line, 8 becomes the symbol of infinity in many traditions, and I love that. And each meditation comes from a different perspective giving same message, that we are one in many, that we are in this together. There is no separation between, if you want to go into the Hindu tradition, between Brahman and Atman. So they all give the same message from different perspectives. So for instance, we're going to go briefly through all these meditations. Before we do that, I want to say that each meditation is completely independent. So you don't have to read them all, although you can. The book is conceived as an intentional labyrinth in the whole tradition of meditation, where you lose yourself in the labyrinth to find yourself. So you can read the book in any order you want. You start from meditation 8, which is actually the meditation that I shared with you. It is one of, I like them all, but this one is, I would say, one of my favorites. It's ontology. It's about the cosmic game of Lila. And so there is no order, absolutely no order. You can follow the order of the meditations or not. Also, you can read only one of these meditations, depending on your own interests. The first one is about self-inquiry. The second one is about prehistory, the history of humankind. Meditation number 3 is about DNA, biology. Number 4 is about ecology, rights of nature. Number 5 is about cosmology, the ancient time astronomy. Number 6 is about technology. On one side, the big data economy. On the other side, enlightened robots. Number 7 is about our societies, social-cultural agency, what we want to manifest at the social level. And meditation number 8 is at the ontological realm, to be and not to be. These two aspects, the unlimited potentials that we are. Each meditation is divided through tags. I did share some material with you, but for instance, you can see here, this is chapter 8, and you see tags. Each tag is independent. I would advise to read the whole chapter. They are around between 20 and 30 pages. But also, if you do want to read just one tag, you can. Each tag is its own chapter. So the idea is the micro and the macro, the unlimited reflection, the small and the big, the human and the universe, the Atman and the Brahman. So in that sense, these tags are independent. Of course, they are part of a discourse within each meditation. So you can read just one tag. They are around 1 to 2 pages. But I would probably advise, if you are still inspired, to read one chapter. The chapter is going to give you the same message. Each chapter has the same insights. This is number 2. This meditation number 2 is a meditation that I also really love. I love all of them, but this one is, again, one of my favorites, because it talks about so-called prehistory. The notion of prehistory is a kind of a new one. It was conceived some couple of hundred years ago in France, and was translated in English during the Enlightenment period of England, which is pretty much the Industrial Revolution. At that time, industry and technology were seen as the plus, and agriculture and ancient ways of living were seen as the minus. Progress was seen as a linear concept. And prehistory was something that was created at the time and pretty much relegated 99% of our history of the humankind on this planet. So if we look at the way we perceive history at in industrial societies, the whole period of the Paleolithic time and the whole period of the Neolithic time together are 99% of our time as a species. We rarely studied those periods. And the more I started to look into those, the more I got fascinated about our own species. And I realized why we are still here. We are not here because we fight each other, because we kill each other, because we rape each other, because we steal from each other, because we brutalize each other. That's not why we're here. I believe that we're here because we took care of each other, because we were communicating with each other, sharing information with each other, sharing knowledge, having gatherings, enjoying each other. And so it's very interesting that the first organized type of violence that you could call war comes in the late Neolithic. I'm talking about archaeology. So archaeologically speaking, and this is something that I talk about in this chapter, we do not have any proof of war during the Paleolithic time. And the reason is very simple. We were living in nomadic ways, so we didn't have center yet. We were moving around. So if there was some type of dispute, we would probably go to another area and maybe never see each other again. Also, humans were dependent on the earth. In the sense, humans were not separated from the earth. They were not taken from the earth. They were part of the cycles. And so, for instance, at this age, humans knew the natural environments very, very well, to the T. And if you look at some of the images that these humans left, a lot of cave paintings, excellent to do that, we see a deep knowledge of non-human animals, of the environments, of the perspective of plants. And again, the reason is the way we lived, our praxis of existence. So for instance, if we go to an area and we collect too many plants, and then we go back 6 months later, there are no longer enough plants to sustain us. And now keep in mind that these people were not just going anywhere. They had cycles. They would go back the same locations within cyclical times. So maybe every 6 months, every 1 year, they would have gatherings. All these humans gathering in these annual or biannual meetings. Think of the solstice. We just had the summer solstice here in the US, and the summer solstice was something revered throughout the ancient ages until now in many, many areas of the world. I think India also is a place where the summer solstice, it's revered, the power of the alignments of the planets. So in that sense, I think we need to revise what has been relegated as the notion of prehistory, which actually means pre-literary history. So it means the time when people did not write yet. And that is very biased. It is based on history starts when people start writing at these within these notions. That's why some places like Australia is considered to come into history after the colonization. So in the last 200 years, Australia is considered to be entering history. And until then, it's considered to be in prehistory, because native people in Australia did not use a writing code like has been developed in other places. And I find this deeply disturbing, because a lot of native people in Australia have actually been wiped out through genocides. So I would say that we probably want to be brave enough to revisit these notions that has been given for granted, but that actually were created very recently through for instance, the Enlightenment period in Europe, when also imperialism arose. And think of colonialism, think of all the brutality that came out of it. So I'm not to judge history, but I'm here to say that we are free to give different conceptions, to learn from different times that have been relegated to a note in the history of humankind. And that's something that must be changed. So this is why I love this meditation. I highly advise everyone to look into that, because there is going to be a lot of information that you may not be aware of. One more thing that I say about this meditation that I really like is that we share as much DNA with chimps and bonobos, but we only always hear about chimpanzees, because they are having a structure, for instance, engage in organized war. They have more of violent behaviors. They normalize the violent behaviors that we see in humankind in the 21st century. And we often don't hear that we also share the same amount of DNA with bonobos. And bonobos have not been seen engaging in organized violence. They are very playful beings. They do not live in patriarchal families and tribes. So I would say that the way science is structured, as we've seen in the history, for instance, of racism and sexism, it's something that we want to reconsider. And always keep in mind that science means knowledge, scientia, from Latin. And so knowledge is something that should give us the wings to fly, shouldn't imprison us in biases and misunderstandings. So science is wonderful. It's also wonderful to be part of that, to also unmask a lot of biases that come from people who were not aware of that. Meditation number 3, talking about science, is about DNA. If you like science, this one is very much of a scientific one, in a very good sense. It talks a lot about DNA in a very open way. DNA is addressed as a hollow genome. So we often talk about the human genome, but we are not so much aware that our genome is not just the human genome. And so we talk about the biota, the biome, all these microorganisms that live not just inside of us, that are us, in our guts, in our brain, to the point scientists are now saying the consciousness arises out of the interactions between the microorganisms living in our guts and our brain. And so there are new definitions of DNA, including, for instance, seeing the human as holobionts, and seeing the genome not just as the human genome, it cannot change so quickly, but underline the fact of the whole genome. So all the aspects of our genome that come through these microorganisms, that genome that is us can change very quickly, within a couple of weeks, depending on the food we intake, the air we breathe, the environment we live. And so there are interesting opportunities of healing here, when we realize that our DNA is not static, and it's not just through epigenetics, which I deeply love. Epigenetics already is telling us the DNA is not static. It also depends on, it's a constant expression and manifestation. But now we are adding another layer, the multiplicity that we are, the plurality that we are. And that change really quickly and give us a lot of power and agency at the level of change. We are unhealthy, we need to change. Well, see what we are eating, see what food we are intaking, the air we are breathing, the thoughts we are manifesting. That is all us at the DNA level as well. So this is an interesting chapter. And also, if you are a little more into transhumanism, which I find fascinating, I am more of a posthumanist, but I do engage in transhumanist ideas because they really open up our perception of the futures, plural, of humankind. And here I talk about possibilities connected to, for instance, cryonics. Cryonics is the idea that some people, when they die, are, let's say, between frozen in the hope that in the future, something that killed us today is going to be something very easy to fix. Think of a lot of diseases that would kill the humans 200 years ago, and now really easy fix. Maybe you just take an antibiotic, and within 1 or 2 weeks, you're good. So that could happen for some of the diseases that, for instance, are killing humans nowadays. And so here I'm thinking about some possibilities and also paradoxes. What, for instance, if a dictator was to be cryonized, do they have the right to come back to the futures when maybe didn't allow people to live in the present? So there are interesting questions. I do not offer answers. I think that there is no one task to tell others what we should do, but it's my task as a philosopher to pose this question, to be reflected at the level of the species, because we are in this together. And when I say this, I really, if the human genome is changed at the embryonic level, for instance, in China, or in the US, or in India, by the way, that has already happened in 2017. Nana and Lala were the first 2 humans whose genome had been bioengineered at the embryonic level. So if it happens in a nation, it's going to be just something that affects that nation, because the genome, the human genome is one. The genome pool of the human as a species is one. So if someone, for instance, go to India and find someone that they really feel connected and they have a child, we cannot control a species. The species is one. When we are making this decision, we cannot just think through nations. We need to have this conversation at the level of the species, which is not easy, because humans in the 21st century have been engaging in a lot of violent behaviors. So one of the, I think, most important reasons that we need to be in these meetings, like today, like now, is creating ways to debate that are non-violent. And in this, India, I think, can teach us a lot. And I think that the way India became independent through a non-violent movement is something that is teaching to all of us as a species. So let's go to the next one. I'm going to go briefly because I'm getting out of time. I do want to address some of the questions that came through the material that was shared. And so let's go briefly. Meditation number 4 is about ecological presence. The fact that we are not living on a planet. We are this planet. We are fruits of this planet. Think, for instance, to the metaphor of Alan Watts, thinking of the human as apples coming out of a tree. We are that. We are not living on this planet. The planet is giving birth to us. We are literally the earth. And so we need to learn from a lot of native epistemologies. People are the ones where the larger number of biodiversity is found in their areas, because they keep the ancient wisdom still with us, understanding that there is not separation between us and the planet, between nature and culture, that we are part of this. And I like to place P in parentheses. Part as being the art of being something bigger than us. Again, when macro, big, and then micro, small, are reflective. And all the mystical tradition teach us on this. We have meditation 5. I know that a lot of people in India, historically speaking, have been loving looking at the cosmos and learning from the planets. Astronomy, astrology is still very big in India. And I would say, if you're into that, look into this chapter. We are made of stardust. The universe is expanding. The universe is us. There's no separation. And so here we go to the beginning of the universe, to the possibility of cycles and recycles. And again, I think the Hindu cosmologists can teach us a lot with the yugas, with these big cycles of time, until we realize that time is us, and that existence and non-existence are one at the same time. I'm also talking here about some interesting topics connected to transhumanism, the idea of what is being called space, not only exploration, but sometimes it's called space colonization. And I believe that colonization is a history that I do not want to repeat. I do believe that we have a lot of agency, not just as individuals, but as societies. And so I think that the language of talking about space colonization is something that we need to be very aware of. I don't think that the history of colonization is something that we want to repeat in space. So I use the term space migration, because I believe that humans have been migrating from the very beginning of our unfolding as a species, from Africa, from the area of Ethiopia to everywhere in Africa, and then in all the other continents, and possibly could out of the planet Earth. Let's talk about the paradox, which is not going to go deeply into that because I want to keep the time for questions, but it is an interesting one, golden paradox, and it is about how do we want to be in, we're talking about possibilities. And since the universe is so big, and not only, but is still unfolding, there is no end to the universe, is expanding. So what would be the ideal type of relation that we may want to think with other beings. They may not be human, but they may be existing in other exoplanets. And so I talk about the golden paradox and the idea that we do not want to repeat the history of colonization and brutality that we have seen in, for instance, in the Americas, but also many other in many other continents. Number 6, it's one of the big favorites of professors. I love to give this chapter to read to my students. It talks about technology. It is a hot topic, technology. Everyone likes to talk about technology. Either people love or hate technology, but everyone loves to talk about technology, which is a great door to talk about existence. So I would recommend, if you're a teacher, to consider using this chapter. It's very successful. Again, I've been using this a lot to teach because the students want to know more about the technology that they are. A lot, I mean, we're talking about digital natives who have been born with technology. It's no longer something that maybe have been adopted later on, like in cases of some other generations. A lot of the people of this generation have been part of the digital existence since the day they were born, actually before that, when they were still in the belly of their parents, of their mothers. And so this chapter is, on one side, really opens our eyes to the economy behind it, because nothing is neutral. Everything comes out of intentions. And so we talk a lot about what are the intentions behind a lot of this technology. And it's very interesting that, for instance, India some years ago said no thanks to free internet by Facebook. Why India said not? Because one of the purposes of that action was data, collecting data of citizens. And so it is very interesting to unfold a lot of the reality behind so-called free platforms. There are no such things as free platforms, and everything that is done, everything that is shared, is creating data. Everything, including the way we type. My voice, our voices right now, are being recorded to this meeting, are eventually being sold in a so-called neutralized way to many different platforms. And that's something that at the moment is hard to control because there are not so many regulations. The reasons of that, and on this I would advise for you to read Shoshana Zuboff, an incredible economist, psychologist based at Harvard University, who wrote The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. She's really amazing. If you don't feel like reading the book, it's pretty much of a long book. It's been called the capital of the 21st century, and she's been called the Karl Marx of the 21st century. But you can watch some of her videos. She's super clear. She's very inspiring the way she talks. And you will understand a little better the deep ramifications of big data economy. I do also address this in a couple of tags here, but also don't stay in the negative. Again, everything has many different aspects. And I also talk about enlightened robot. I talk about the consciousness is in everything, everywhere. And this is already, the Upanishads are saying this. There is nothing new about this deep truth that unfold with existence. So we must understand more the technology we're using. So one of the reasons of the chapter is giving that possibility. And on the other side, we don't need to be afraid. Fear is not the answer. The answer is not the fear AI taking over, like I see a lot in this country and based in the US, and someone like Elon Musk, be afraid, and so then you can put a microchip in your brain. So be afraid of technology, then you can become technology. So that to me is never an answer. Fear is never a good advisor, ever. So the answer is not fear. That's the philosophy. Don't find that the answer. The answer for me is awareness. Know who you are. Know who you are. Know who we are. Know who we are in the 21st century. Because existence is constantly changing. So this book is about that, is the being aware, and this chapter specifically is about technology. Last 2 chapters, Meditation 7 is about societies. We are social animals. Yes, we are individuals, but we're also need other people before us to be born. Think of DNA. Our DNA comes from many other people before us. Think of the fact that we need some type of tribe to exist, to survive. And so what does it mean at the social level? What kind of society do we want? And what about education? Because a lot of the issues that we see in the Anthropocene are rooted in old ways of educating children. I have a young daughter who is a 7-year-old, and we're talking about maybe 7, so a kind of alliance in numbers. And she's going to a beautiful public school, and I'm very grateful. And on the other side, I also see that some of the teachings are outdated. I see that often is still presented as this most evolved animal, the most intelligent one, the one who is at the pyramid of evolution, is the one in charge. So we, as educators, I'm talking to an academic audience, we must be brave enough to be completely sincere about what we teach and how we learn, because these are who we are. We are not just what we say. We are not just our dreams. We are how we act. We are how we teach. We are how we learn. And so I talk a lot about work culture. I am very, very deeply a pacifist. I was born from a family, and my grandmother and grandparents lived through 2 world wars, and they repeated many times the horrors they witnessed through war. So since a very young age, I knew that I did not want to experience war, and I did not want to support war in my life. But war is not just something that is done through bombs and killing others. Bombs are inside. The seeds of war, as someone like Thich Nhat Hanh would say, Zen Thich Nhat Hanh, originally from Vietnam, he would say these seeds are inside of us. And so it is a deep work when, again, the outside reflects the inside. And last one is the chapter that you, some of you may have the chance to read. I shared that with you. If you didn't have the chance to read, feel free to read it in the next couple of weeks, called Ontological Presence, and is about the idea that there is not outside existence. There is no one to blame. We cannot blame others. The others are the self. The inner is the outer. And so in this chapter, we talk about ontology. So what is this? Why do we exist? And I did find some incredible answers that deeply resonated with me, for instance, in the Hindu tradition, and specifically in the concept of love and the idea of Satchitananda. And often we forget about the last part, the ananda, the bliss. Why are we here? We are here to enjoy. Now, not everything that we enjoy is considered something positive. A lot of people may like horror movies. Some people like very dramatic movies. So I'm not here to judge what kind of life you want to unfold for yourself. But never forget that you are the master of your own life, and that your life is my life, that I am you and you are me, and that we are everything. So with this kind of Posthuman mantra, I would like to say that all the images that you have been watching through this short presentation are created through generative AI in human algorithmic meditation that on some level mediate, and on the other level also meditate. It's a constant unfolding of existential creativity. And I would like to end this presentation before we look at these beautiful questions that you have been posing with love. A lot of tradition mentioned that the only thing that really matters is love. Of course, we're not talking about any romantic love or any possessive love. We're talking about a divine love. If you don't want to use the term God or divine, think of this universal love. Think of this energy, this nourishing energy, this creative energy that make you being here right now. And so I want to ask you these questions. After this, I'm going to give a minute of silence to just digest a lot of topics that we've been addressing, to then being able to have a clear voice using our communication chakra in the throat chakra to be talking together in a praxis of existential dignity and coexistence. If you don't mind, I'm going to give you a small meditation. You can close your eyes or not. You can turn your camera off or not. It's up to you. But after this, there is going to be 30 seconds of silence. Posthuman love. Can we love reality the way it is? Can we love reality the way we are? Can we love reality the way they are? The way in, the way out, the way is the way. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn my mic and my video off for 30 seconds. And I want each of you to just be in silence if you can. Now we can slowly start to come back. If you want to do a little movement with your shoulders, with your neck, you can maybe touch your legs, your arms, feel your embodiment, feel the way you are. And if you want to look around the room you're in, each of us is in a different room right now, most of us at least. And these spaces are part of who we are. The environment is not separated. And then take a deep breath in, out, releasing anything you don't need in your life. And then in a couple of seconds, I'm going to get my camera back on. We're going to get ready into questions. If something came to you very clearly as an insight or as a question or something you would like to share, you can take now a little time to write it in the chat. If you want to share anything with all of us, please feel free to write in the chat. Also, any questions can go there. I'm going to take a minute to do that. And if you have nothing to share, just focus on your on your body, on your spaces, breathing in and out. Now I'm coming back. Thank you so much, Anne. I also want to say that after writing this book, You Have to Be Posthuman, I took a toll on my health because the last I really spent, I was a little behind, and Polity was waiting, and I just wrote every day, and it was too much. We cannot do that. It's not good for us. But out of that, after having a toll on my health, I realized that I could not just be an intellectual, could just sit and write all day long. It's not healthy, it's not good for my body. And we are embodied beings, whatever type of embodiment. It can be the universe, it can be nothingness. And so I've been doing yoga since 2005. It was a long time, and I did a teacher training in yoga, and I'm still doing a lot of yoga, Kundalini and Raja. And I want to thank all the Indian traditions that have been sustaining these beautiful and knowledges that have been part of humankind since time immemorial. And if we look at the pyramids, and a lot of the images there are asanas, are actually asanas that are found in many yogic traditions. I would say that embodied knowledge has been with us much longer than just intellectual knowledge. I'm not against intellectual knowledge, but we're a little trapped sometimes in the knowledge of the mind. And so it's very important to understand that knowledge is everywhere, it's throughout our bodies, that our bodies are wise. And this would be Nietzsche. Nietzsche said that there is more knowledge in our bodies than in all the books, in the biggest library of the world. Think of the Library of Alexandria in the golden time. So with all said, but if you want, we can go to some of the beautiful questions that you posed, and then we can also, of course, open to the Q&A. And again, they don't have to be questions. You might want to share some insights. And in the meantime, feel free to share them through our chat.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrando, for your nice and very resourceful deliberation. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Bapin Mollik to start a conversation on this particular topic. Bapin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful deliberation. And we are happy that participants, academicians, research scholars from different parts of the globe have already joined this through Google Meet and, of course, through YouTube streaming. So, madam, once again, thank you for this wonderful and thought-provoking talk on the book that you have written, The Art of Being Posthuman. And you know that this international conference actually seeks to explore the notion of pluralism. So in this context, my question to you is how this notion of pluralism is entangled with the philosophy of posthumanism. Madam.
Thank you so much, Bapin, and thank you so much, Dipanjan, and thank you so much, everyone. What an important topic, what an important question. After some centuries of underlining the importance of the self as an individual, it's very important as well. But I think that we lost sight. I think that a lot of the messages that we get in at a young age, or I can see, for instance, through my students, is the idea that happiness is an individual pursuit. That you, in order to be happy, you need to become rich, to have the best job, to have the best family, to have the best house, the best car, blah, 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 blah. And we forget that we can have all of that. But if we live in a very unhealthy society, we are deeply torn, we are deeply unhappy, that there is no separation between the way we are and the society we are part of. When I was younger, much younger, I had the incredible blessing of being a lot of youth exchanges. So these were families, very kind families, that would host youth from different parts of the world, and you would be their family, part of their family. And I had the chance to do this, and I've been in different locations, including South Africa. This was apartheid had just ended at the time. Nelson Mandela had just become president, and I was in different families in South Africa, in post-apartheid, and you could taste the hate in the air. It didn't matter where you were. There was so much hate, so much anger, so much between everyone. It didn't matter what color of the skin you had, because there was a lot of hate between so-called white people, if you were from England or from the Netherlands, and a lot of so-called black people. And so I was young at the time. I remember walking the street in Johannesburg and realizing that I was not breathing air. I was breathing the hate. I could feel it in my body. And that was a very deep experience. I realized that there is no way we can be happy and healthy in a society that is full of hate. And, you know, South Africa was doing a very good job trying to heal themselves. And Nelson Mandela at the time did an amazing job bringing so much hope to everyone part of South Africa, saying, stay, we're going to do this together. We need to heal together. We are all traumatized. And this is true at the level of the species. We are a traumatized species, although we think at the intellectual level that we are the species that is in charge, that we are the species that is the most powerful one, that we are at the top of the food chain. We are a deeply traumatized species. I just finished writing this dialogue on violence with other scholars, and you realize that everyone has experienced violence of some level. It doesn't have to be physical violence. It doesn't have to be sexual violence. It can be psychological violence. But everyone so many people we talked to, everyone had experienced violence. Everyone knew what violence was. Now, we are a very traumatized society. And it is a very good time to heal, because the only time to heal is when we realize that the wound is open. If we don't know that the wound is open, we cannot heal it. And in that sense, I think that the pandemic was such an incredible existential moment of awareness, because it was so clear that there was no tomorrow, that life didn't have to be there, that everyone could die, and obviously we didn't, because we are here today talking together in this event. But death became very, very real, very, very clear, very, very present. And then India went to extremely intense time at the time, and there are so many scholars and friends in India, and we were like very connected. We organized a lot of events together to make the spirit was held together, and we had hope together. And I'm also originally from Italy, and Italy went through such a hard time during the pandemic. And I was living in New York City. I don't know if you remember, but New York was one of those centers where like thousands of bodies were just, you know, one on top of each other. They didn't know where to put all these dead people. So I think that those things that shape us as a species are the great time to re-envision what is that we want to manifest. Because obviously there is no separation between what was happening and who we are. We are that. I like the answer that God gives in the Exodus, the Bible. There is a lot of violence in the Bible, and there is also a lot of wisdom. And one of those elements that I really like in the Bible is the answer that God gives when God is asked, who are you? And God says, I am who I am. And again, if we go into the non-dual tradition, for instance, many non-dual tradition in India, we can think of the answer, we are who we are. There is no separation of saying, I would like to be someone else, or I can blame someone for me not to be who I am. It doesn't work. We are who we are. We are what we are manifesting. And so these are the great times to stop, the pandemic stop, and make sure that we are manifesting what is that we want to manifest, because change is always happening. Our bodies are constantly changing. Think of you 20 years ago. I know that some of you, most of you are at least in your 20s and older, but you can think if you're younger than that, if you're 15 or if you're 10, think of you 2 years ago. Think of your own body. Think of the way you thought 2 years ago, how different you are. And that stream of you, the stream of consciousness that you are, is who you are right now. And it's going to be something different tomorrow. So the point that is they're always changing, no matter what. So then we need to realize that we can change in ways we don't want to change, or we can change in ways that we wish to manifest. Again, this is unlimited creativity. And so there is one truth that I found through all the traditions, and that I found through all the scientific fields, from biology to astronomy to technology, is that we are one and many at the same time. And this is already written in the Upanishads and in the Vedas. We are one and many. Talking about plurality, talking about pluralism. Think of you, not only who you were and who you're going to be. Think of all the microorganisms that make you who you are, that make you healthy. At the point, as we were mentioning before, that we may be conscious because of the interactions of all these microorganisms. We are always multiverses. We don't even need to believe in quantum theories and quantum fields of studies, in the idea of the multiverse, as it is being addressed not only through cosmology, but also through current scientific theories. The multiverse, the fact that there may be a lot of dimensions, not only one, and I deeply think is that is real. But as multiverses, think of a small microorganism living right now in your guts. Are they aware of who they are? Do they think they are just a little microorganism? Or do you think they are aware of the macrobody that you are? And maybe they are aware of the earth. And maybe they are aware of the cosmos. Or maybe not. So this is when we understand that there is no such thing as just an individual. There is never just a self in separation. So in that sense, plurality is a gift of the politics of the mid, we'll say, 21st century. And we should never address pluralism or plurality as a gift of generosity that we are giving to others, because that is not going to work. If we are doing something just to make someone else happy, and we don't realize that the happiness of the others is our own happiness, then we are never going to do it from our real self, because we are always the others. There is no ultimate separation. So in that sense, pluralism and plurality is a path of enlightenment. And that politics can help us in that level, real politics. I'm not talking about the game of ego that we are, for instance, witnessing in this country right now during the political advertisement for election. That's the game of the ego. It's a possible game, not a game that I particularly like, because it usually doesn't help society at all. But I'm talking about politics in the, for instance, Greek terms, although polis was also deeply biased, not everyone was included in the polis, but the idea of a vision that helps society, that helps us as collective bodies. So that the only way to do real politics, is when we realize that if we live a deeply unjust society, if we live in a very hierarchical society, if we live in a very violent society, that is society that is our existence, is our own experience. If I live in a very unjust society, I may walk the street and someone can attack me because maybe they are living in very unjust situations and they don't have enough to eat. So I would say that the idea of pluralism and plurality is a spiritual understanding. Spiritual, not as separated from reality, but a path of awareness when society become a layer of the self. And so going back, finish my answer, when I was walking the streets of Johannesburg, when I was 19-year-old, and there was so much hate in the air, and I realized that hate was becoming part, I could breathe it. And I realized from there on that I could never support a society that brings so much hate between people. I want to manifest peace, and I wanted to manifest real peace, not silence in others. It's not peace. Tacitus, Roman historian, who was very critical of the empire, and he would say, ubi desertum faciunt, pacem appellant, which in Latin means where they create the desert, where they solitude, actually he would say, ubi solitudinem faciunt, where they create the solitude, where they create the desert, they call it peace, meaning where they kill everyone, they call it peace. That's not peace. Talking about some war going on right now. War is never the answer. War can only create more distress and more pain. So plurality and pluralism is a great path of awareness. And in this current time, we need to think of coexistence between humans. Think, for instance, what's happening right now in Gaza, a lot of people being killed, a lot of people, innocent people who have nothing to do with war politics being killed right now. And think of also non-human animals. Think of non-existence, think of non-human species as being silenced by the ignorance of humans, taking more and more and more when we are creating ecological imbalance that is actually creating a lot of diseases, a lot of problems for the humans, because we are in this together. So I would say pluralism, addressing them not as a politically correct way to go about life. That doesn't have much. But as a path of wisdom, as a path of self-awareness, as the deepest path of all the mystics, all the mystical traditions that have taught and have remembered to all of us that the self is the others, that we are in this, that is inner is the outer. And so can we love reality the way it is? Can we love reality the way we are? And can we love reality the way they are? Because there is no absolute they. And so when we live in peaceful times, that's the place we want to live. And I believe that's why humans have been for so long around, because we did not engage in the violent behaviors that we are seeing in the last, I would say, 6,000, 7,000 years. Thank you so much, Bapin, for this beautiful question.
Thank you, madam, for this nice explanation. Madam, as we know that human agency, which is foregrounded by you in both these books, in posthumanism as well as in the art of being posthuman. So human agency, as you know, has played a very crucial role creating different forms of subjugation. And in this context, my question to you is, how does your idea of the art of being posthuman offer a new perspective by embracing both philosophy and praxis that dethrone the very identity of human? Madam.
Thank you so much, Papi, for this wonderful question. I would say that the problem with human agency is the way it has been conceived recently. So the idea, for instance, of humans going to beautiful wild areas, destroy all the habitats, create condos for more humans, where maybe, 10 minutes away, there are a lot of areas that have been abandoned that could be restored ecologically. And sometimes it's called agency, what we can do, all that we can do. But the point is that we can do anything we want. I can literally do anything I want. The point is that what is that we want? So what is that we want to manifest with our agency? The problem of intention is often relegated to a side note in the history of humankind. And so in this sense, I thought that the so-called prehistory was so revealing. And that started as a job for me in 2014. It was 10 years ago. I got hired. I was very happy to be hired at NYU. And the first course I taught there, here, where I'm still teaching, it was ancient philosophy. I write a lot about contemporary, as you know, posthuman is my field. But I was invited, the first course to teach was ancient philosophy. And something that stuck with me was that the description of the course was from the beginning to the 2nd century after the cholera. And it was in June, and I was going to start teaching in September. And that gave me kind of an existential crisis. In June, I started to think every day, what is the beginning? What is the beginning? What is the beginning? And after asking a lot of what is the beginning, I realized that if we are teaching philosophy of the humankind, the beginning is the beginning of the human, which if you look at the history of evolutionary biology, it's really hard to trace, because there is not one day that boom with the human. Is this more of this unfolding of evolutionary possibilities? But of course, you can trace it with the history of Homo sapiens. And that has been one of the most amazing journeys that I've ever embraced in my intellectual life. I have other amazing journeys out there, for instance, contemporary philosophy and postmodernism. But this journey of the last 10 years has been deeply revealing, because I realized that our agency as a species for 99% of our history, the so-called prehistory, all the Paleolithic time and most of the Neolithic time, was an agency that we could definitely call post or pre-human. It was an agency that was about ecological balance, ecological awareness. I think that we often think in very humanistic ways that are very hierarchical about history. So now we know how to write. But someone like Marianne Gimbutas, an incredible archaeologist who studied of the Neolithic settlements, underline that there are many other ways of writing, call it proto-writings, that are done through designs, through symbols, through images. And certain people now are saying, well, those images, the cave paintings, were forms of archiving knowledge. And that knowledge was deep. It was done in a way that there was a lot of agency, but this agency was also recognizing the agency of the non-human. For instance, some of these cave paintings are deep underneath the earth, that, you know, you can only go there through hours of crawling down in these really deep caves. In the days that it is very shamanistic, shamanistic experience. You go there, and they're not done to be seen as great artists. These paintings are not, given to anyone specifically. Like the history of art is like that. All throughout the time, the artist was not about being the ego of the artist. The artist would be the one who would channel the divine energy to create the most amazing Shiva statue, or the most amazing painting representing the divine creativity. It was not about the ego. It was not about their names. The art was channeling the creative flow through their skills, of course. You would be first getting your craftsmanships. You would first know how to do it, and then you would allow for the divine energy to channel this art. Now, we're talking about human agency. Then we look at the history of the human, and we see that for 99% of our history on planet Earth, human did pretty well. We survived the ice ages. Other species didn't. We are not sure the reason why, for instance, Neanderthals didn't. But one of the current scientific theories is that we not only took care of each other, Neanderthals did that also very well, but we also would have this possibility of caring for others outside of our tribes, outside of our families. These gatherings, they would be seasonal. probably connected to the solstice, probably connected to the alignments of the planets. The humans would get together, they sing together. You can call it play together, drum together, draw together. This is agency. This is a reconnection of human up as part of a bigger cycle, as part of a bigger vision. Now, I'm not here again to clarify. I'm not here to judge history, but I'm becoming more and more aware that our path as a species in the Anthropocene, and we are becoming completely unaware of the dignity of other species, of the dignity of non-human species, of the dignity of other humans that are not part of our own small families, biological family, or small nation, or small religion, or small identity. And I talk in meditation number 7, identity is not as the big identity. For instance, someone like Sri Aurobindo would talk about the cosmic self. Not that, like the identity like as an id entity, id entity. Id in Latin is something, is a thing. When we reduce ourselves to that, when all of a sudden I'm just Italian or Hindu or Muslim or Christian or Nigerian or female or male or Democrat, Republican, when we close ourselves to such a small identity, when we forget who we truly are, that is, I think, it's happening at the level of the species. I think this is why we see so many wars. I think this is why we see so much violence in our societies, so much violence in our families. One of the main causes of death is actually violence between humans. So I would say that if we go on that way, that is it is a short path. It could come to the end of a species. I'm not here to judge. Some people say, oh, that's really bad. We want to make sure that humans are here forever. And some people are saying, oh, that's really good. Humans do not deserve to be around because we have not been behaving very well. I'm not here to judge. I am more of a Nietzschean scholar, beyond good and evil. I'm not judging. I like to be the witness. And I think, again, a lot of Hindu mystics talk about being the witness. I love that. So being a witness, I can see that in the last at least 200 to 300 years, but we can expand that to at least maybe 5,000 years, which is really not much in the history of humankind. But being playing more and more the game of disconnection, this self that we are, from being everything, we start to get smaller and smaller and smaller to the point that I just care for my own children. I just care for my own wife. I just care for my own husband. I just care for my own mama or papa or whoever. And that becomes such a small vision that I just care for my species. But this is an ignorance, is a video. That's not what we are. And in fact, one of the main reasons why at the moment a lot of humans are dying is based on diseases, based on pollution. Think of cancer. When I was a kid, and I am 46 right now, it's not that long, it's 40 years. But when I was a kid, at least in Italy, to the cancer was a drama. People, oh, or cancer, such a drama. People would, now it's almost normal. Oh, what kind of cancer do you have? It's becoming so normal, so normalized because of the polluted environment we are living. And there is no separation. I might live in the most pristine Himalayan mountain, but if the acid rain is falling on me, it doesn't matter where I am. That's when we realize that there is no such thing as a safe spot in my own small biological family, in a small tribe. We are one and many. We're this together. And so I would also like to say that this is a game of existence. We can play any game we want. So I want you not to go into depression. There is a lot of eco-anxiety, especially between the young generation that is very aware of what's happening. And a lot of people get really depressed and deeply anxious. That's not the path. Fear and anxiety, depression, they don't take you anywhere. There is no solution in those feelings. They can be games too. That is the game of pain. That's something that people like, the idea of being in pain. That's a possibility. But in my life, I experience pain. It's not something I choose. I prefer not to have pain if I can. And so in that sense, I think that what is the game in awareness that we want to play? Do we want to play this game of inner and outer destruction? Possibility. And I think of course, the Trimurti, the creation and maintenance and destruction. So we can play the game of destruction. But what game do you want to play? Do you want to play as an individual, as part of a society, as part of a species, as part of the planet, as part of the cosmos, as part of the universe, as part of the multiverse, as part of existence, as a part of non-existence, unlimited potential? We can be anything, anything, and we are being anything and everything right now. So I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds. And I want you to be completely free in this line of flights. Think of what is it you wish to manifest without any judgment, without any fear, without any illusion, realizing that everything is possible. What is it that you wish to realize? Let's say 30 seconds. And I'm going to do the same. And I'm going to silence myself and silence my mic and camera. 30 seconds. Now we can start coming back to our collective reflection. And of course, if you would like to share something that came clearly to you, please feel free to post it in the chat. That's always very powerful to have witnessing the intentions, our visions, that brings more connection to the whole existential realm. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be also that we share in silence with everyone. And I would like to say that in my case, I want to know who I am. And once I know who I am, I want to manifest the life that I want to live. And I am manifesting the life that I want to live through all of you. And that's been my vision, and it's been your vision. And that right now, right here, this is exactly what I wish to manifest. There is absolutely no reason why we're here. No one is getting paid. There is no money involved. There is no certificate involved. There is no homework involved. We are all here together because we want to be here in this moment. And so I want to go on with this, at least for the next 10 years. I think that I'm still going to be alive. I'm older. I think I will go into silence and take space. But for the next 10 years, I want to be in these kind of conversations with you all, sharing, manifesting together, and manifesting collective games that we want to experience. I have not just hope, deep faith in all of us. And I saw everywhere the beauty of humankind. And I've been treated as a family member everywhere I've been. And I saw that there are all the same elements everywhere we go. There is joy and sorrow and an illusion everywhere. And so I would like to thank again everyone for being here, and Bapin and the University of Kanyashree, Panjan. India is a country in the Indian subcontinent, and all the countries connected to India, and Pakistan, and China, and Italy, and Nigeria, and the planet, United States, Mexico, Peru, you name it, and the moon, and the sun. Without the sun, we would not be here. We would be probably somewhere else, another form of existence. But thank you so much, everyone. And we are getting a little bit out of time. I know that there are another amazing, there are so many more amazing questions. Maybe, Bobby, if you want to address one more, we could, or if you want to go into closing now, I'm open maybe to one more if we wish. But I leave it to Bapin and to all of you. And again, thank you so much for being in this together.
We may raise one more question. So thank you, madam, for wonderful explanation. Definitely, this separation of us and them is vital, and this particular idea should be dismantled in order to raise a counter discourse to the notion of human exceptional. Thank you, madam. Madam, my next question is in meditation of or meditation on of your book, that is of being posthuman. You have pointed out the notion of relational self, and in this context, my question to you: how this particular idea, this concept of relational self, plays a very crucial role in offering a sustainable society, madam.
Thank you so much, Bapin, for your beautiful questions and for underlining this aspect that is often silenced. I think that all the traditions, think, for instance, we can go to the Greeks, just because philosophy is a term that comes from ancient Greece, which is exactly the love of wisdom. And we can think of Delphos, this incredible place where people go for the oracle of Delphos. And at the very entrance, it was written on stone, know yourself. And we can think through all the ancient rishis and all the ancient philosophies really throughout the world, not only obviously India, China, and Africa, oral tradition, know yourself. Now, we have gotten this message very clearly, I think everywhere. At one point, someone or something is telling us, know who you are. If you want to be happy, if you want to be fulfilled, know who you are. Know the self. But the question is, what is the self? And so this is when I really believe in clarifying this notion of the self. So, for instance, in many traditions, they come more from individual approaches to the idea of we must hear our voices as well to be happy. They have, for instance, started with Nietzsche, who is considered the one giving birth to the individual self. In the last 200 years, we've been told, listen to you. You are unique. You are amazing. You are brave. You are strong. Listen to you, which is partially truth. There is some truth there, of course. We have unique voices. That's why we're here. Otherwise, why we are here? Because we are going to bring some unique, original, creative aspect to existence. This is, remember the notion of Lila, the cosmic game. Think of poiesis in ancient Greek tradition, the idea of existence as a creative unfolding. Now, if you think of the idea of the artist, and in fact, this book is the art being posthuman. So how can we be artists in our own life? Well, the artist, to be an artist, must be original. Otherwise, he's not an artist. If I'm just copying an amazing country goddess that was painted thousands of years ago, I'm very good at it, but I'm not an artist. If I just repeat what is written in the Upanishads without adding anything, without understanding, I'm not an artist. I'm not judging. I'm a good scholar, which is very good. I can be a good teacher, but I'm not an artist. Now, who is the artist? The artist is the one who has full skill. So they know how to write. They've been training in that. They know how to paint. They know how to sing. Mantras, for instance. They know how to carve a sculpture. They know that. But there's something else. They are bringing their own self into that. They are bringing their own unique, original touch. They can be just the tone of their voices in their mantras. For instance, a mantra is not about the individual ego. It's not about that specific person. It's about the intonation. It's about the nuances of the vibration. So you could repeat something that is being done, but you do it in such a unique, original way that people recognize the art in that. So that doesn't mean that I have to create something completely new. I don't have to create a whole new universe. I don't have to destroy society to create a new one, although it's possible. Kali is part of us. The revolutions are part of human history. And they're also part of poiesis, of historical poiesis. Enough is enough. Think of a lot of possible ways that humans have been creating new ways of existing. But there is another way to go out of it. It is learning from the past to unfold it in the present, what we want to manifest in the future. Because time is not linear. There is no such thing as the past. The past is not past at all. The past is us. We are unfolding the past, but we want to transform it to the present. And in this gift of the present is the present, is the gift that is also present. We are also unfolding the future. So in that sense, what is the self? Who is the self? So the self is never something that is completely outside us. In that sense, we want to go to the, for instance, original sense of the guru, the teacher, who is not the teacher because he's the one who I'm just mocking, because I am nothing, but they are everything. And this is not the real teacher. The real teacher is not stealing light to become more of a sum than self. And I saw that a lot happening, for instance, in the US, a lot of fake teachers who are stealing the teacher of the students. They are stealing the money of the student. They are stealing the knowledge of the student for them to be brighter and brighter. I'm not judging them. That's a possible path, is a possible game, but that's not enlightenment. There is avidya, is ignorance. It is a possible game, the game of the fake guru that is stealing the light of their students. But I'm not judging, but I'm saying that that is not the real guru. The real guru is the one, through their light, you see that you are the light. You understand that you are your inner guru, that the light is everywhere, like the sun. The sun doesn't decide, oh, I'm going to shine in India, but I'm not to shine on Pakistan, or vice versa. I'm only going to bring my light to Pakistan, but not to India. The sun doesn't do that. That's why the sun was revered as a deity throughout all the ancient times. Think, for instance, of Egypt. Ra. Ra was the main god at the beginning of the history of Egyptian deities. Ra was one of the main ones. So the question is, who is the self? Think of the self as just me, Francesca. I want more power. I want to be more known. I want to have more quotes and more citations. I want to be more scholar until I die. Do you think I care once I die how many quotes I have? How many people have said my name? That's not going to help me at all. What is going to help me is what I learned through the self. What is going to help is the understanding of who I am for real, not through the small identity that is a possible game of illusion. Maya is a fun game that can be played. How many times do we want to play Maya? How many times do we want to play the illusion game, where we think there is something, but there is nothing there? We can play that game endlessly. In fact, a lot of people say we have endless life. Don't worry. You can play the game as much as you want. Enjoy it until you don't enjoy anymore. It's fine. You can play hide and seek until one day you realize, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I'm growing out of this game. I cannot play seek anymore. I'm playing other games. Now maybe I am playing the game of understanding humanity. And then maybe I want to play the game of understanding non-humanity. And then I want to play the game of understanding myself. So if we go to the self as the real path of knowledge that we are embracing for ourselves, not because others tell us that we need to do that. No one can teach us what we need. We are the only one who know what we need. Maybe we need to play the of illusion for another 1,000 lives, and that's fine, until the game gets stale, until the game of illusion becomes boring, until I realize that I don't want to play the game anymore. I am bored. It doesn't suit me anymore. I am growing out of that clothing. I am growing out of that body. I am growing out of that illusion, and then become the real understanding of the self. And the self is all of that. Is all of those illusions with no judgment. There is no one life that is more important than the other. If someone is enjoying the game of avidya, if someone is enjoying their game of ignorance, we cannot push them to know who. It's fine. We don't want to judge them. We can only do what is good for us in this moment. And so if we really want to know who we are, if we really want to know ourselves, we will understand very quickly that all the teachings from all traditions, from science to the ancient rishis, to the future yogis and yoginis, are telling us, because we know that we cannot be just an id entity. Cannot be just Francesca. When I was born, the first year of my life, and true, I didn't even remember my name. I didn't know my name. I didn't have any names. I had all the names like you, all of us. We are born, we have no names. We just look at everything. Everything is fun. Everything could be anything. The stage of the child, according to Nietzsche, is the enlightened stage. Not because we need to go back and regress to children, because the child is completely open. The child is not lost in any game of illusion yet, although it comes pretty quickly if you think of the number of years we usually have as humans. But it doesn't matter, because time is subjective. So going back to your question, relational self, that's the way to understand the self. The self is always relational, even at the highest macro level of ontological being, because even being, even existence, always unfolds out of non-existence. So even at the macro level of the dimension, if you think of us, our own embodiments, as the whole dimension of the whole different dimensions, if you want to include multiverses. Even so, even that type of self is still relational, because it unfolds out of the unlimited possibilities that are in non-existence. So existence is constantly unfold out of non-existence. And I think science is going to give us some interesting views also connected to dark matter that is at the moment considered a mystery. And since there is a lot of truth there connecting to the notion of non-being that is being addressed to all tradition, and here I would like to bring Zen. Zen is all about non-being. Zen is all about going to the minimal knowledge, because the intellect can help us, but can become a cage. So in that sense, the relational self is the deepest understanding of the self. And it doesn't have to be just through embodiments. It doesn't mean, but of course it also means that I am many. So for instance, my body are our microorganisms, that I am here because of all the humans before me, because of all the humans after me, that we are part of the planet. Not only that, but it's also the level of ontology. It's also the level of unlimited potentials that we are, not only as individuals, not only as societies, also at the level of the species. And I used to be critical of the notion of the human because of all the anthropocentric discrimination that has been done in the of the human. But after the pandemic, I realized that human is an incredible, there is the incredible power of bridging us as a species. having this conversation as a species, not to erase cultures, not to erase specific identities. They are fun games. Those are beautiful. It's beautiful to eat different food wherever you are traveling. It's beautiful, different clothes and different way of being. That is all beautiful. But let's not get trapped into the understanding that we are just that. Because us, the deepest teaching, we are rivers ourselves. If we look at our own self, we are rivers. Think of you, as we were doing before our exercise, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. Think of you 1 day from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now. Think of you 100 years from now. Some of you may want to be crayonized, some may not want to. Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be 1,000 years from now? Who were you 1,000 years ago? Because your DNA was already forming. Who's going to be you 1,000 years from now? So the relational self is the deepest understanding of the self. And again, this is going beyond existence to the amazing realm of non-existence that we are. Unlimited potential. Thank you so much, Bapi. Thank you so much, Kanyashree University, Dipanjan, all of you, and all of India for allowing beautiful conversation, for having been contributing to the wisdom of humankind for time immemorial. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, madam, for this wonderful explanation. Now I'd like to hand over this virtual space to the participants because they have already raised some question in the chat box. And some participants are there, they may ask their question by unmuting themselves. So the floor is now open for question answer. Madam, there is the question. The question is raised by Shapnojit Dash, and you can see in the chat box.
Maybe, Bapi, if you don't mind reading that, it would be probably helpful for everyone in case it's hard.
Yes, yes.
It will be very helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Shapnojit Dash has raised a question. There are a number of elements of ambivalence in the study of posthumanism. On the one hand, it talks of creating equality among humans and other creatures, critical posthumanism, and on the other, strengthening the hierarchy among humans, transhumanism. On the other hand, it talks of the humanization of the robots, and on the other, the dehumanization, robotization of humans. On the one hand, it talks of dystopian utopia, and on the other, utopian dystopia. And there are elements of ambivalence. So his question is, what should be more important in the critical study of posthumanism, whether to focus on present reality or to focus on hypothetical future? So this is the question raised by Shapnojit Dash, madam.
Das, thank you so much for this beautiful question, also for your important reflection. It is, you're so right. So I did kind of skip that aspect, but it is true, and I'm going back probably to my first work to talk about this. So it is so true that there are so many different currents of thoughts in the field of posthuman studies, and some of them are actually saying opposite things. So why is that happening? On one level is because this is an ongoing type of conversation. That is, I find that to be one of the most exciting aspects of being part of the posthuman studies field, is that there is no one answer that is considered the answer. So for instance, if we think of Renaissance humanism, at the time, I'm talking about late 15th century, 16th century, Italy and beyond, a lot of the people were bringing in different answers about what does it mean to be human. But nowadays, we think that we got the message, Renaissance humans, that was what they really meant. And this is because it's a phase that is gone, that is, it was an unfolding, a reflection, that is, it ended. And now a lot of scholars have studied that, and they have come with kind of a summary of the main ideas. Now, this is not happening yet. The field of posthuman studies, I would say, is at least 20 years old, you can say, starting in the 70s, really unfolding in the 90s, and really developing into a full field in the last 20 years. So young. In that sense, there are a lot of different fields. Like you mentioned, there are, people saying somehow the opposite. On some level, you have some movements like transhumanism that I would consider in the field of posthuman studies, who are saying, well, it's not really about going beyond the human in any way. It's about making the human even more so, going beyond the boundaries of the human, even in very anthropocentric ways. In fact, the main goal of transhumanism is what has been defined as Humanity Plus, which is the main platform that is found online, which means human enhancement. And I found this type of discussion interesting. I do find it limited. It is based on a lot of preconceptions about the human that I do not share. But it is going about going beyond what are some of the historical limits of the human, one of them being death. So a lot of transhumanists want to get rid of death. And people would make fun of them, but I wouldn't. Because if you look at the history of humankind, this dream of being immortal has been with the human for a very long time. You think, for instance, of the alchemic tradition, ancient China, in ancient Africa, in ancient Europe. Think of one of the first mythologies, Gilgamesh, found in ancient Sumeria, in ancient Babylonian, Akkadian, and the Gilgamesh wants to become immortal. Actually, Gilgamesh is already semi-god, but he's not immortal. And so if you ask a lot of people, do you want to die? A lot of people are going to say, I don't want to die. So I would say that this idea of trying to live forever is being part of human dreams for a long time. I would also say that other humans, for instance, all the mystical traditions, have given a different answers. And the answer is, we are already immortal. We are already immortal. We are already here forever. This is our own game. And we are the one who are manifesting this dimension, this reality. We are one and many at the same time. And those are, I think, very deep type of answers that may resonate with us in this lifetime. Maybe it will in some other possible lifetimes, if you do believe in the possibility of rebirth or reincarnation, and if not within this own lifetime, maybe some years from now, because we're always changing. Some philosophical truth that didn't resonate with me when I was younger resonated with me when I was older, because I was mature to understand those. So I would say that the idea of death, are we born and do we die, or we only transform? And so, for instance, in the history of chemistry, there is no such thing as death. There is only transformation. So I would say on one side that the field of human study there is a lot going on. And to me, it is very beautiful. It can create a lot of confusion. Absolutely. So this is why the first book, because I realized that there was so much confusion going on among people, among scholars. Some people would accuse transhumanists of something that they were not even talking about, and some people would think that transhumanism and posthumanism are synonyms. And that's not true at all. Think someone like Francis Fukuyama, who wrote Our Posthuman Future, that entered the New York Times bestseller list. And Fukuyama himself, he's a very important scholar, but he didn't do enough of his homework. And in his book, Our Posthuman Future, he talked about transhumanism as if it was posthumanism, but they are not, as you know, the same. So I think, first of all, it is very important to have the language, to do a little studies before we are jumping into the conversation, because we don't want to create more confusion. It is true, as Nietzsche says, from the chaos, the dancing star is born. A dancing star is born out of the chaos. But we don't want to create more confusion if we want to enter the field to bring clarity. We want to bring clarity. So first of all, it is important to have the language clear. What is transhumanism? What is posthumanism? What is anti-humanism? These are all different flavors. They are all saying different things. Some of them are saying the opposite. But on the other side, like you said, apart from that being said, which is important to underline, there is another aspect, that these fields are also focusing on different topics. So as you this important question, it is, should we focus on the present reality or focus on hypothetical future? So I would say that they are one and the same. The kind of reality that we are manifesting right now is already our future. So for instance, if you have a garden, and if you place specific seeds, let's say that you place some basil and some tulsi and some oregano, you could also plant other seeds. You could put rosemary, and you could put angelica, and you could put other seeds. So whatever seeds you put up there, not all of them are going to grow. If any of you is into gardening, you know that not all the seeds are going to take for different reasons. Maybe the land there is not good for that specific plant. Maybe the meteorological conditions are not for that specific plant, or help another plant to grow. So you're going to plant seeds, and then you are allowed the whole manifestation that you are part of to nourish what it is going to nourish. But what you can do, and yes, you can, decide on the seeds that through your own life, through your own work, through your own habits, treating others, of what you, or maybe what you buy in a supermarket, or what plant you plant in your garden. Those are all you. Those are all part of you. And these should not become a burden. You should never feel overwhelmed with that. Never. Because there is no way you can mess it up. There is no mistake. There is never a mistake. There is only an unfolding of reality that is constantly changing. No mistake that can be done. There is only, think of the beautiful answer in the Exodus of God. God is not saying, I am what is good to be. Or God is not saying, I am what is good to be. God is saying, I am who I am. I am who I am. Beyond any judgment, I am who I am. So there is no mistake that can be done. That should make you feel at peace with yourself. Do the best you can to what you want to manifest. That should be your intention. So the future and the present are already one. The past is already one as well. That's why we can heal our own species, our own families, our own tribes, our own dimension through our own self. And of course, how much more beautiful when we realize that we are in this together. When we realize that our vision is not just one vision, it is a collective vision. But that this collective vision is like a rainbow. And the rainbow doesn't have one color, it has many colors. And these colors are all connected, but they're also all very unique to themselves. The red in the rainbow is the red. The purple in the rainbow is the purple. But they go through all these shades. They go through all this connection. And the only way for the rainbow to manifest is from the sun being after the rain. It is specific, unique condition of these elements coexisting. So I would say there is no way you can mess it up. There is no way we can mess it up as a species. The only thing that is there is our own existence as a collective being, as a pluralistic being. When the many is not crushing the individual, it's not about crushing the self. I'm not here to say the ego is bad. The ego is not bad. The ego is part of who we are. Let's enjoy the ego as part of everything else. There is no one to blame. The ego is not to be blamed. The ego is not to be blamed until we think that we are just the ego. Then the ego is not to be blamed. We are in a journey of ignorance. Can be fun too. A journey of ignorance can also be fun. But what is that we want to unfold? Is that illusion? is that ignorance or not, without judgment. So if we don't want to be in a journey of ignorance, then we realize that the ego is only part of the whole picture. We need to respect our ego. It's not about crushing the ego. It's not killing the ego. The ego is part of everything else with respect. When ego becomes everything, then is our issue. There is nothing that can colonize. Colonization can only aid in disruption, as we know from many histories, including the history of British colonization in India and British imperialism. They brought so much despair and pain to everyone, including British people. No one enjoys living in a stressed society. Think of myself walking as a young person in South Africa, realizing that I was tasting the hate in the air and that did not feel good. It didn't feel good. I realized that I wanted never again to experience something like that. So I would say that the present is a gift, present. And in the present, there is the future. And the future is the seeds that we are planting right now. And these seeds are ancient, coming from our past, which is also here. We're also transforming the past to our own present. So with this, present is the present. I think we're marking the 2 hours, and I think a lot of people is getting pretty late in India. So I think we probably want to end our conversation. I would like to thank so much everyone for being here today. And if you don't mind, I'm going to give the last 30 seconds to take a deep breath in and out to get ready to leave this conversation recharged. We want to feel recharged. We want to feel, we want to allow these seeds to grow in us as a collective community, to respect each of us individually. And I would like to say hi to all of them. It's going to be hard to say all the names because there are a lot of people here. But I want to say hi to Ankita, Nopama, Ahalia, Parjita, Shrina, Barna, Bipasha, Mandal, Devjani, Deepika, Dishani, Dipanjan, Nitai, Golap, Luftanisa, Maduri, Mamoni, Nitu, Mumita, Rishi, Paramita, Paramita, Piyai, Puja, Raki, Rita, Rimpa, Riya, Safia, Sanchayeta, Sarnita, Sayani, Shabnam, Shreyasi, Smriti, Shinga, Soma, Sumlata, Sonia, Sumili, Surab, Shriya, Subarna, Sucharita, Sukendu, Sumi, Sunanda, Sukti, Susmita, Tanajayet, Tanujri, Teacher Council Secret, and everyone else. So let's take one last moment of silence, if that's okay, and then we leave to Bapin and Dipanjan to end this amazing meeting. 30 seconds.
Thank you, madam. There is a question. Should I read that question from the chat box?
I think that we're getting out of time, and I think that maybe this call for another meeting later on. We could think of something in the fall to update ourselves, see where we are at, and maybe keep going with the discussion. We discussed in meditation number 8. Maybe we can share another chapter for the fall and keep with the conversation so that everyone can go at a reasonable time in India. And I would like to thank so much everyone for being here in this together. I feel your energy, I feel your love, I feel your vision, and I am so honored to be part of this as art. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bapin, Dipanjan, Kanyashree University. Thank you so much, India, Indian continent, planet Earth, cosmos, and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We are almost at the end of this wonderful session, really wonderful session. And on behalf of the organizing committee of this particular seminar, this international conference, exploring pluralism, sustainability and inclusion, interdisciplinary perspective, I'd like to thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation to deliver such nice talk, such nice ideas, your thought-provoking ideas with regard to the book that is The Art of Being Posthuman. And of course, I would like to thank Register of Holland University for offering support continuously to organize this kind of conference. I would also like to thank the principals of different colleges who have collaborated with us to organize this particular conference, and that's why I like to thank Dr. Piyush Kanti Dev, Principal, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, Dr. Ashok Kumar Dash, Principal, Ashannagar Madan Mohan Torkalankar College, Dr. Bashanta Kumar Pradhan, Principal, Palashi College, Dr. Shapun Kumar Rai, Principal, Navadip Nagar College, Dr. Puritosh Vishwas, Teacher in Charge, Chakda College. So I'd like to thank all of them for supporting us to organize this conference. And Shapun Kumar Rai, Dr. Shapun Kumar Rai was there in this session in the very beginning of the talk. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the research scholars, academicians, and students who have participated in this particular session. And I'd like to thank the participants from different parts of the globe out of India. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank Google Meet for offering us this particular place to organize this virtual conference. So thank you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And I hope that we'll again organize this kind of conference. And I am requesting everyone, all the participants, to fill the Google form which is shared in the chat box, and to give their valuable opinion about the talk. And of course, I'd like to invite them to raise their question in the Google form, so that we can forward the same to our resource person, Dr. Francisca Ferrando. And I hope that she will answer those questions through mail. So thank you everybody. Thank you all. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, Bapin. Thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you so much, everyone, everything, for being here today. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your life, and we're always connected. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.